The clinking of glasses echoed as my cousin Rebecca laughed, her voice slicing through the living room like glass on stone. "Oh, please, Emma's graduation ceremony?" she sneered, sipping her wine with mock elegance. Who would even bother showing up for that? Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation. Be honest. Tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. More laughter erupted. My uncle slouched deeper into the couch, wiping his eyes from laughing too hard, while my own father muttered, "She doesn't even have friends, let alone a real career. Just some community college scholarship girl pretending she made it." I stood in the corner of my aunt's marble-floored house, holding the same lukewarm soda I'd been nursing for an hour. No one offered me a seat. No one asked how I was doing. I was just there. The invisible disappointment they had to tolerate during family events, the air smelled of expensive perfume, fake success, and hidden rot. What they didn't know? This wasn't just a graduation ceremony, it was a keynote event, one that had been planned in silence for nearly a year, and the people invited weren't the ones who belittled me for years. I didn't flinch when my cousin Maddie said, "Watch, she'll probably rent a hall and no one will show up. Can we go just to see how awkward it is?" They all burst out laughing again, even my mother, my own mother. She was swirling her wine glass like she was somewhere above all this, even though she'd once told me, "It's better to marry rich than to dream big." That night, I left without saying a word. I didn't cry, I didn't snap, I just walked away with one thought burning through me like wildfire. Wait and watch. The big day arrived. My palms were sweaty as I adjusted the sleek navy blue suit that had been custom tailored for this very moment. I wasn't wearing a cap and gown. I'd traded those for something stronger. A black-laced mic over my ear, a spotlight waiting, and a hall already filled to the brim. But not just with anyone. The air buzzed. Security guards moved along the red carpet. Paparazzi positioned their lenses. My name was on the banner behind the podium, the same name they all laughed at. Dr. Emma Reed, PhD, tech innovator, and youngest CEO of Nixora Systems. The family didn't know the full extent of what I'd been doing while they dismissed me for being just a girl with a laptop. They didn't know that after getting that scholarship, I'd been recruited into a think tank at MIT, launched an AI prototype that caught the attention of Forbes, then built a startup that recently received $50 million in funding. But tonight wasn't about revenge, it was about truth, about showing up as myself, not who they thought I was. Doors are about to open in 5, my assistant Tyler said, holding his tablet, barely able to contain his grin. Your guests are in place. And, yes, the media's already live streaming. I took one last breath. My heart pounded against my ribs like it wanted out of my chest. This wasn't fear, it was power. It was the strength I'd forged in silence while being told I was nothing. I walked to the curtain, and then the doors opened. Bright white light spilled in from the entrance, and with it, a wave of camera flashes, like lightning bolts crashing into the floor. Voices shouted, "There she is! Dr. Reed! Emma, over here!" And behind them, rows and rows of people. Not nobodies, legends, billionaires, scientists, celebrities, influencers, one after another. Tyler whispered with a smirk, "They're gonna need a moment to process this." And then I saw them. My family, they stood frozen at the very back, just inside the doorway. Rebecca's jaw hung open. Maddie clutched her purse like it was a lifeline. My father blinked hard, trying to understand what world he had just stepped into. And my mother? She grabbed my aunt's arm for support, her face pale like she'd seen a ghost. But I was no ghost. I was the reason the world was watching. And their laughter? It had just turned into silence. I walked down the stage steps as the crowd roared, my heels clicking sharply against the polished floor. The sound echoed with the kind of authority I'd once only dreamed of. Lights followed me. Camera shutters flickered like fireworks. But all I could see, beyond the mass of flashbulbs and velvet ropes, was the stunned lineup of my family. And the irony? They had front row seats reserved under the name Immediate Family of Dr. Emma Reed. But instead of taking them, they'd walked in late and stood at the back, looking wildly out of place, dressed for a cheap graduation, not a nationally televised innovation summit. Tyler leaned toward me. "They didn't RSVP, I gave a tiny nod. They thought they didn't need to. Security parted the crowd as I stepped toward the center of the atrium. Murmurs followed me. That's her? She's the youngest on Forbes Tech Titans list, right? Didn't she just sign a partnership with the Department of Defense? I didn't slow down. I didn't look left or right. But when I reached the front row, I paused for a breath, then turned. And there they were, still standing in the doorway like shadows of their former selves. My father looked furious, like someone had stolen his place in the world and forgotten to consult him. His pride wouldn't even let him walk closer. My mother was whispering to Aunt Julia in panic. Rebecca was visibly sweating. Maddie clutched her phone, scrolling furiously like she was trying to fact-check my existence. I stepped up to the podium. The microphone adjusted itself, sleek and motion-tracked. I heard my voice fill the space as I spoke. Thank you all for being here tonight. This moment isn't just about me. Pause. It's about every girl who was told she wasn't enough. Every young woman who was told she wasn't smart enough, pretty enough, connected enough. Every dreamer who was handed a ceiling and told to accept it. The audience leaned in, but I didn't. Applause. Some stood, some cheered. The energy in the room swelled, and for a second, my voice caught, not from nerves, but from the weight of how far I'd come. I was once the girl no one believed in, I continued, locking eyes with no one but somehow speaking to them. I grew up surrounded by people who saw ambition as arrogance, passion as rebellion, and silence as weakness. But I chose not to believe them. And tonight, I choose to stand here not with bitterness, but with proof. Another beat. My fingers wrapped tightly around the edge of the podium. Proof that kindness is not weakness, that humility doesn't mean invisibility, and that even when your own blood laughs at your path, you walk it anyway. The crowd erupted. I took a step back, nodding softly as the standing ovation grew. Backstage, after the keynote, I finally exhaled. Tyler brought me a glass of water. You okay? I nodded. I've waited years for this. He tilted his head. Want me to block your family from coming backstage? I thought about it for a moment. Then quietly, I said, no. Let them come. They need to see who I am now. Not for them. For me. He gave a respectful nod and walked off. Minutes later, the curtain rustled. I turned. My father was first. He didn't even say hello, just folded his arms and looked around the lavish green room like he was inspecting it. Quite the show you put on. Not a show, I replied calmly. Just reality. I invited you all, by the way. You could have had reserved seats. Rebecca pushed past him, voice shrill. You really think you're better than all of us now, just because you made some app or whatever? It's not just an app, I said plainly. It's a multi-platform AI that's changing national infrastructure, securing emergency systems, and saving lives. Maddie rolled her eyes. We didn't know. No one told us. That's the thing, I said, voice steady. You never asked. A heavy silence filled the room. My mother looked at me then, not like a daughter, but like a stranger she was trying to recognize from old photographs. You should have told us, Emma, she said weakly. We would have been proud. You told me to marry rich and stop wasting my time on computers, I replied, sharper now. You laughed when I got that scholarship. You said no one successful comes from our side of the family. You all mocked me when I chose work over weddings. Her eyes fell. My uncle finally broke the silence with an awkward chuckle. Look, maybe things got out of hand, but we're still family, right? I smiled, but not warmly. Family isn't who shares your blood, I said. It's who shows up when you're building, not just when you're shining. Rebecca scoffed. So what now? You cut us off because you got lucky? I took a deep breath, then stood. I didn't get lucky. I earned this. Every dollar, every connection, every sleepless night. While you laughed, I worked. While you doubted, I built. And while you gossiped at dinner tables, I was writing the speeches you're now watching from the doorway. The room went quiet again. I walked past them and opened the green room door. There are media waiting outside, and fans, and people who believed in me before my own parents did. You're welcome to stay. But understand this, tonight was never about making you proud. They didn't move. I stepped out, greeted by applause from the hallway as more guests lined up to shake my hand. Investors, engineers. One little girl in glasses who whispered, "You made me want to study computers too." And as I hugged her and smiled for a photo, I caught a final glimpse of my family through the closing door. Still standing, still stunned, still wondering how the girl they once ignored became the woman the world couldn't take its eyes off. 2 days later, the clip from my keynote had hit 10 million views. The comments section was flooded with strangers writing things like, "She's the real deal," and "That speech gave me chills." Industry leaders reposted it. Tech blogs called me a silent giant finally speaking up. And a few schools even asked for permission to share my address with their students. But back home, my phone buzzed with familiar names I hadn't heard from in years. Maddie. "Hey, can we talk?" Rebecca. "So proud of you, girl. Let's get brunch?" Mom. "Your father wants to see you. He's just proud, that's all." I didn't answer any of them. Not because I was being petty, but because I knew what this was. Their love had always been conditional, dependent on my failure. My invisibility gave them comfort. My success, it left them exposed. And now they were scrambling to rewrite history. But I wasn't going to let them. That Saturday, I returned home for the first time in nearly a year. Not my apartment in the city, not my corporate office, but the suburban house I grew up in. The same one where I used to get grounded for talking back every time I had an opinion. I parked the electric car in the driveway. Yes, the one they once laughed at me for even dreaming of. And before I could knock, the door opened. My mother stood there with a plastic smile plastered on her face. Her eyes darted to the Tesla, then back to me. "Oh my God, Emma, you look so beautiful." She gushed, arms out for a hug. I paused, then stepped inside without returning it. The smell was the same, lemon cleaner and stale air. The same floral wallpaper from a decade ago. Nothing had changed, except me. My father sat on the couch, half watching some news program where they were talking about me. He quickly turned it off. "Well," he muttered, "the celebrity returns." I sat across from him, my voice calm. "I'm not here for a reunion." He raised a brow. "Then why are you here?" "I came to say goodbye properly," I said. "To all of it. The fake support, the backhanded comments, the laughter behind my back. I'm closing this chapter." My mother blinked. "You're cutting us off?" I nodded. They looked stunned, truly stunned, like they never thought I'd have the guts. But I wasn't the scared, quiet girl they once dismissed. I wasn't the doormat. I wasn't the tag-along at family events trying to fit in while they all made me feel like a background character in my own life. I was done. My father scoffed. "After everything we did for you growing up?" I met his glare without flinching. "You did the bare minimum, roof, food, and mockery. Every step forward I took, you dragged me 10 steps back. I learned to walk alone because of you. So no, you don't get to claim my finish line after pushing me out of the race." There was a pause. Then Rebecca's voice called out from the hallway. "She's just being dramatic, Uncle Charles. This is her guilt talking. She knows she changed." She walked into the living room in heels far too loud for the house, holding an oversized handbag like it was armor. "Emma," she said with an overly sweet smile, "I know we haven't always seen eye to eye, but I never meant to make you feel small. We were just kids. Come on." I tilted my head. "You told your friends I'd be lucky to get a cashier job." She laughed, clearly uncomfortable. "Okay, maybe I was a little harsh, but look at you now. We knew you had potential." "No, you didn't," I said. "You hoped I'd stay beneath you. And now you want to pretend that wasn't true just to keep access to my world." My mother stepped forward. "You can't just throw away your family, Emma." I looked her dead in the eyes. "You did that the day you laughed when Dad said no one would show up to my ceremony. That wasn't concern. That wasn't love. That was cruelty." She turned away, her face tight. I stood up. "I've built my circle now," I continued. "Mentors, partners, people who push me forward, not pull me down. People who believed in me before the cameras. That's my family now." Rebecca muttered something under her breath. "What was that?" I asked. She looked up. "You think the world is going to love you forever? Fame fades, Emma. One scandal and they'll drop you like nothing." I smiled. "Good thing I built value, not fame. They respect me because I deliver, not because of likes, not because of PR, and certainly not because I belong to some fake family tree." I walked toward the door. My father's voice followed me, low and bitter. "You're not better than us." I turned, slowly. "No," I said. "I'm just finally done pretending I'm less." Outside, the air was crisp. The sun hit my face just right, and I took a long breath, one that felt like it had been building for years. Tyler's car pulled up at the curb, and he stepped out, opening the back door. "How'd it go?" he asked. I slid in. Exactly the way it needed to. He nodded and handed me my phone. Another invitation just came in. TechVision wants you on the cover. I chuckled. You serious? Dead serious. They called you the silent storm of Silicon Valley. I laughed quietly as the car rolled away. It was over. Not the journey, but the part where I waited for validation from people who only valued me in pieces. I didn't need them anymore. I never did. And for the first time in my life, I felt free. 3 months later, I stood on the rooftop of the Nexora Systems headquarters, my company, overlooking the skyline as the city glittered below like a sea of a million unspoken dreams. The wind was sharp but refreshing, tugging at the edges of my blazer. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the silence speak louder than applause ever could. Behind me, the sliding glass door opened. Tyler stepped out, holding a small envelope. This just came in. Looks personal. I took it and turned it over. The handwriting was familiar, clean, controlled. It was from my mother. Inside was a folded card. No long note, just 7 words. We didn't realize what we lost. Mom, no apology, no ownership. Just a veiled regret, too little, too late. I stared at it for a second, then tucked it into the inside pocket of my coat without a word. Are you okay? Tyler asked. I nodded. I'm not angry anymore, just done. He didn't say anything for a while. Then, there's a little girl downstairs with her mom. She waited an hour just to give you this. He handed me a drawing, crayon lines, bright pinks and purples. A sketch of me in front of a laptop with the words, I want to be like her. I smiled. It hit deeper than any award I'd received. Tell them I'll be down in 5 minutes. Tyler left, and I took one last look over the city. My past, my pain, my loneliness, it had shaped me. But it didn't define me. What defined me now were the people who saw me, not my title, not my money, not my family name. Me. Back then, my family had laughed, certain no one would show up. Now, I couldn't count the number of people who did, and I didn't need a full house to feel whole, just the right ones in it. As I turned and walked back inside, I left the pain behind on that rooftop, where it belonged, with the wind, with the silence, with the ghosts of a girl who had once begged for their approval. That girl was gone, and in her place stood a woman the world could no longer ignore.